Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome back to the channel with the latest update from the UK Parliament, UK politics, and of course, this new Socialist Labour government. The Home Office and the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, are in trouble as Reform UK and Lee Anderson, who is currently the Chief Whip of Reform UK in the House of Commons, by showing real and actual opposition. You would think that at this time, when we have a new government, the opposition would be coming from the official opposition party, which is the Conservative and Unionist Party, the so-called Tories. No, because they are too busy washing their hair. They are a little bit distracted. They are going through a leadership election which nobody cares about, and nobody is even talking about it, up to a point where unless something big happens, even I'm not going to focus on it. I'm not going to bother with the Tory election until they actually step up their game and do something interesting. But for now, we're going to talk about the real opposition in Parliament, which is, yes, Reform UK. So before we do that, just a quick reminder, if you would like to support this channel and you want us to keep going and you want me to not sell out, the best thing to do is, of course, join our 2CTV Plus platform, our independent, secure, confidential, and of course, politically incorrect 2CTV platform. Go on 2ctvplus.tv or find the link in the description. Join us today. We're going to have a number of new shows coming in over the next few days for you guys. Okay, let's talk about Lee Anderson. Let's talk about Reform UK. And let's talk about Yvette Cooper, because they've done some research. Now, the good thing about Reform UK right now, despite all the other issues that they've been going through, is actually Lee Anderson is an experienced parliamentarian. He's been in Parliament for a few years. He knows how it works. So, of course, he's leading Reform UK from that front in terms of telling all the other new MPs how to do things in a parliamentary way. Because, of course, the people like Nigel Farage are experienced when it comes to frontline politics and campaigning and everything else. But when it comes to parliamentary procedure, Lee Anderson is very good at this. He's got the experience now, and that was one of the positives of being part of the Tory party for a few years, of course. He decided to focus on this issue. You remember a few days ago we reported on this channel that the Home Office, the official account of the Home Office in this country, decided to label everybody who's been arrested as criminals. Now, this is against our constitution, our rights, and the rule of law that we have. The Home Office said that these criminals will face the full force of the law. And there was a list of people who've been arrested, right? The number of people who've been arrested. We have a thing in this country, in case they don't have it in Pakistan, for example, innocent until proven guilty. Now, obviously, some of them will be convicted and they will receive a sentencing. Some will be convicted in an unfair and unjust way. That's a whole different problem. But a lot of them will not be. But according to the government, they are all criminals, okay? Also, I just got a super chat from live chat from James saying need a 2CTV app. Don't worry, we are working on a 2CTV app, but the only way we can do it is if we have enough support for 2CTV Plus, then we can do it, because it costs a lot of money. We don't have that much budget, but we're going to be working on it. If you guys support the channel, we're going to create the app to make it easier for you guys, get all your breaking news in one place, and of course, access to YouTube as well. Okay, YouTube videos. So, Lee Anderson has decided to write a letter directly to the Home Secretary because of this, yep. Addressing Yvette Cooper, and it was written 2 days ago, obviously now published it, regarding the potential contempt of court. Now, this is a serious allegation. Lee said, I am writing to raise my concern about a recent comment posted by the Home Office on X, formerly Twitter, which was posted on the 15th of August, 2024. Your department tweeted that more than 1,000 arrests have been made related to recent public disorder, and that these criminals will face the full force of the law. Could you provide answers to the following questions? Oh, he's going sassy. Can you confirm that these 1,000 plus individuals are known to have criminal records? Smart. If the answer is yes, why has this check been done prior to them appearing in court and then tweeting about it? Good question. Going forward, will all those arrested, regardless of offence, have their criminal records checked by the Home Office and have this information posted on X? How will this not prejudice their trial? If the answer is no, the individuals have not had their criminal records checked prior to appearing in court, why has the Home Office referred to them as criminals? At best, this is inappropriate and unprofessional. At worst, this appears to be a possible contempt of court. I would like the reasons outlining to me. If you do not agree with my concerns, please assure me that we do not now have a two-tier justice system as well as a two-tier policing. Yours sincerely, Lee Anderson. That was good. That was good. Well done, Lee Anderson. He also posted this on X saying, innocent until proven guilty. Well, it appears not since Labour took charge. Check this tweet from the Home Office sent out last week, which in my opinion is disgraceful. Then check out my letter to the Home Secretary. We cannot allow the state to assume anyone's guilt until they have had a fair trial. They are not criminals until they have been found guilty. Hopefully our judges will see this. We'll see through this. It's also important to mention, as a parliamentarian, Lee Anderson and a few of the obviously Reform UK MPs are the only ones who are standing up for the protesters. Not the rioters who were like looting shops, no, but all the others who were just there to peacefully protest, and of course in anger, but also, or for example, to share videos of the protest, or simply to observe and look at the protests from the pavement. We don't have anybody really defending those people. We don't have the official opposition party in this country, the Conservatives, doing this. We don't really have anybody, any backbench Labour MP doing this. The only people are the Reform UK MPs. Now, there's been a lot of conversations and debates in recent days about Reform UK and Nigel Farage and his problems with Tommy and everybody else. But that's been going on for years anyway. I'm not really sure why people are surprised about Nigel Farage's comments about Tommy, because he's been saying the same thing for the past 10 years. They've always had issues, although Tommy still came and supported reform. But Nigel doesn't want to be associated with Tommy. Now that's a whole different point. Doesn't mean that when Reform MPs are doing the right things, you shouldn't support them, even if you are a supporter of Tommy, for example. So there are things where you can differentiate, you can put it aside for 1 second, because there's a fight outside of Parliament, outside establishment, and there are those who are fighting that fight, activists and campaigners and influencers, but there's also a fight inside the system, inside the House of Commons chamber, and the only people we have is basically a few people on our behalf, democratically, who've been elected to do that. And Reform UK are generally inside the House of Commons doing good. Now, outside, that's a whole different point, but the Reform UK are now a parliamentary party. They are no longer a campaigning activist party. You've got other people out there doing that. So it will be good if the political right, the Conservative side, become more united. But that's just wishful thinking for now, as you guys know. But, never give up hope. What's going on with you guys in the live chat? Got Cambridge drivers and random saying, please donate to Reform. TT1 says, incoming new law that allowed Labour Party members to declare anyone a criminal if they don't agree with them. So basically, they were labelled criminals before even being tried, which in itself is spreading false information. That's also a very good point. I wish Lee would have focused on that part as well. Obviously, he was focusing on contempt of court. That was a good angle anyway. But I think it's Paul. Absolutely spot on. Considering that our Prime Minister and the mainstream media have been going around launching a massive campaign against the rest of the population, saying that anything you say that we don't agree with is basically fake news. And even if you do share false information by accident, then you're a criminal. This is quite interesting because what the Home Office did, if I were to show you again, this post is actually false information. So they have actually broken their own rules. But are they going to be held accountable? Of course not. Because there's one rule for them, one rule for the rest of us plebs. It says slander or defamation, but that's also the other thing. Although based on our laws, if they had been mentioned by name, because their reputation would have been damaged, the individuals have been arrested. Although they have already mentioned a number of names publicly of those who have been arrested, and those of them who would not be getting any conviction or sentencing, actually they could probably sue. They should probably sue for defamation, because they made everybody in their neighborhood think that they are criminals, but they're not. You got actual criminals, and you got those who've been unfairly arrested. AFC Man UK says, it's a joke. Tommy got done for contempt, simply for asking the criminals outside the court how they felt about their sentences. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of technicalities which they used against Tommy, because Tommy was not a professional, intellectual, political person. He was just a normal person who became an activist, and then he started doing street journalism. So, of course, he didn't know he's going to fall into their trap. But he did fall into the trap. So anything he did, by, for example, going outside the court, he was doing it as a normal person, as a normal angry person who was concerned. He wanted to expose people. But they used it against him, obviously, saying, why did you approach people who've just received their sentence? Obviously, approaching people who are just going into court before getting a conviction and sentencing, yes, that's difficult. That's different. But if they've already been labelled as criminals, then that's different. Katie says we need to have the constitution restored. They have been eroding it for years. But that's the thing. The constitution simply needs to be implemented. that because it's there. I mean, it's not codified, but it's there. But our constitution not being codified, which has always been our strength until now, is actually becoming a problem. And that's why there are some idiots who are going around saying our constitution is not written. What do you mean it's not written? It's written, it's not codified. There's a whole different point. Every country has a constitution. Even the Taliban's Afghanistan has a constitution. It's the, what's it called? The Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan, they call it now. But I think even though we are a lot of us are traditionalists, I think it's time to upgrade the country and the system and the constitution. I think gonna have to have some sort of codified constitution at this point. Although the other problem is, whether you are a traditionalist or you're progressive, you want to change. If you're progressive and you want to change the House of Lords, you want to change the monarchy, you want to bring the second elected chamber, you want, I don't know, whatever else you want to do in terms of the reforms, as a progressive, if you want to do that, then you have to be careful how much progress you want, because you can change, you can reform the constitution. But if you're not careful, the wrong people will be in charge, and then you're going to have a socialist republic forever. So it's a very, very thin line between reforming it for those who are obviously progressive and want to, for example, abolish the House of Lords or turn it into an elected chamber. But us traditionalists, we simply want the constitution to be implemented the way it's supposed to. And we've had prime ministers after prime ministers going around, especially since Tony Blair, politicizing the House of Lords, and that's the problem. If the House of Lords was the House of Lords that we had 50 years ago, 100 years ago, it would work perfectly. Checks and balances, they're simply there to essentially, layman terms, to proofread their legislations from the House of Commons. That's their job. But now you have politicians in the House of Lords. We didn't have politicians in the House of Lords before. And they are basically turned it into a second political chamber. So Davros says, all I know about Starmer's father was that he was a tool maker. There has been a lot of jokes about Starmer's dad obviously being a tool maker, so the tool he made was Starmer. But actually, hang on. Let me, if I can find this meme. Where is it? There we go. The latest meme about Keir Starmer's father, yes, he was a tool maker, and the only tool that he created wasn't just Keir, This is what he created. This was created by Keir Starmer's father. Poor guy. I don't even know if he was a socialist. We know who his son is, but I'm not really sure. John says, even the House of Lords are concerned about immigration, and for them to be concerned, it's saying something. The thing is, you still have a few good traditionalists in the House of Lords. I mean, they're very much older now, but the rest of them, there's no hope. Samantha's right. Why hasn't Nick Lowles been arrested? Nick Lowles is the guy in charge of Hope Not Hate, which is a far-left organization, an Antifa-style organization in this country, who's been going around obviously targeting people like Tommy and others for spreading misinformation, as they say. But Nick himself posted misinformation. Of course, he came out afterwards to say, oopsie, I made a mistake. But is that how it works? So if you just come out and say, whoopsie, I made a mistake, can you get away with it then? So we can just go around saying whatever we want on social media, and then the next day we could just come back and say, whoopsie, I did a mistake. Kevin says, repeat. Well, what's going on as I've just joined the live feed? You want me to basically, we got thousands of people watching already, almost 2,000 people. You want me to basically tell them, guys, you stop, because Kevin just joined. Yeah, feel free, Kevin, to, if you rewind back to the beginning. I think sometimes you might be able to do it when it's still already live. You could go back to the beginning, or when it finishes. Sorry, I forgot to give you a heads up. Speaking of obviously being late. Oh, actually, there's a super chat. There we go. Mike, thank you. Saying is that Yvette? Yvette is Yvette. Being charged with contempt of the British public. Surely telling poor kids about sending the illegals back should be considered a criminal act under the Labour's own rules. Yeah. Also, just a quick update in case you haven't thought about this. We're going to have these new laws, right, about misogyny, which will be considered as a terrorism thing, right, if you're misogynistic. For the record, considering the rise of the Islamic community in this country, under the Islamic rules and teachings, I can assure you the new Labour government's misogyny laws are Islamophobic. Of course they're Islamophobic, because now the Labour government are now going to be telling a lot of the Islamic husbands and fathers that they can't be mean to their daughters and their wives. And that is definitely Islamophobic. The whole thing is going to backfire. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to join 2C TV Plus by supporting us, and of course getting access to all the premium shows and documentaries by going on 2ctvplus.tv. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.